Welcome to the podcast From Stress to Success Blueprint with your host, Lolita. And today is a podcast episode 36. And I'm going to start talking about those toxic coworkers and now even toxic friends. Pretty much we know we all belong to a group, so we do need to belong in a group. That is one of the human needs, I think, that we need to know that there are other people and we're not alone. And I think the worst thing that can happen is to really isolate somebody physically and on top of that, emotionally as well. That's why we have, I think, this pandemic of loneliness when you could be sitting in a room with a bunch of people, but really feel like you are alone because you're not being really truly seen. Anyway, so let's get back to what is that I'm going to talk about. We all have those toxic friends or coworkers. Maybe not right now, maybe you used to have, or you may come across some. And so, how is that you work with that? So, first thing that I want to start with, it's those people who gossip. And, it's not nice to be around when somebody is gossiping about other people. It's kind of feels weird, like when somebody talks about you and you're like, well, why are they talking behind my back? And for some people can be stressful about knowing that there is this gossip happening. I think it has to do, let's do work environment. So let's say there are a few coworkers that like to gossip about other people. And I heard this, if somebody gossip about someone to you, they probably gonna gossip about you to somebody else. And I can tell you that's so true because I came from there. I used to be a very big on gossip, probably still am. And one thing that I realized when I'm really thinking about my childhood, because obviously everything is learned behavior, I think gossip is one of the things that is just so human behavior because we belong to a group when you gossip. It's so much interesting when, let's say, you have a group of people talking, and then somebody that you know comes and everybody wants to hear a story. We all want to know what's happening. And, not everybody has, all the things that are happening about themselves. And mind you, when somebody comes, let's say, to a group and they start talking about themselves and how amazing their life was, then you kind of look at this and you think, oh my God, they're just bragging. What's wrong with them? How they stop talking about themselves? They're like those narcissists that always talk about themselves, right? Okay, let's say that the other person will start complaining. They say, oh my gosh, their life is so bad, like going the total opposite, right? Like from talking about how good their life is, now they're talking about how bad their life is. Then you think, oh my God, they're always complaining. They're such a downers. They always not happy. I don't want to be around them. So what is that you talk about? You talk about other people because you're really not complaining about yourself and you're not really bragging about yourself. And we all love stories. You know, any good movie has lots of great stories. Any book, if it has great stories, it's very intriguing. We remember things by stories. Do you remember how many songs are written, um, most of the time sang, I would say, that come from, hundreds of years ago? I remember I heard this very interesting fact that they said there were no maps long, long time ago that, let's say, simple people can get. So then they will create a song. So when they sing a song, they memorize it like a story, and then they get to places, like turn on the corner here, and then you see the big rock, and then you see the tree, and then you cross the creek, and you get the point, right? There's always a story. Like in any speaking engagement that I speak, I always talk about stories, about memories, because that's how we can relate. If somebody gives you no story about themselves specifically, you can start thinking that there's something wrong about that person. They hiding something from you. And we want to be safe. Okay, so go back to that gossiping. Right. So that is someone who comes and gossips is being seen as someone that is toxic, be talking bad about other people, or could be talking about good about other people. And yes, that can get stressful. But I want to have a different point of view about this. First, if you are in a situation that somebody gets in your environment and they start talking about things that you don't want to hear, number one, you always can tell them to stop talking. It's your choice. If you say, well, but I don't want to hurt their feelings, that's your boundary to make. Number two, if you will think, well, I never want to invite them to a party, or I never gonna go to talk to them because I know they'll start gossiping. I don't know. Is this is adding more stress to you or taking away? I think it's kind of adding more stress to you because you need to adjust how you live and how you behave depending on other people. I don't think that's true freedom, really, to be honest. Now, let's take a different approach. Let's analyze all this. Now, I want to ask you, how many times someone giving you information or just a just a gossip about somebody else's life really, like really influence your own? And I know there are plenty of circumstances that, somebody said something and they shouldn't have said it, and then it comes across and then leaks out. But to be honest, the truth always comes out, okay? No matter how. Somebody can tell themselves, somebody can tell the gossip, and they come out from other person. But the truth, even later on, still comes out. So how is it going to come? That's just the way things are. There are plenty of ways how to come out. Now, I don't think that a lot of gossip that we hear, it's really influencing our personal life that much. Just because you hear about that person talking about another person, sure, it can change your point of view about that other people and all those other people's. Really, this is your point of view. You're like, okay, I hear this happening, but it's your judgment to take this as a truth or take it with a grain of salt. Or my approach, let people talk. You want to agree with them? Agree with them. You don't want to agree with them? Don't agree with them. You don't want to hear? Tell them to stop. But overall, just start looking this like neutral way. Just neutrally. Like, okay, well, they said about this and this and that. Okay, cool. If you will not admit the negativity, that situation is not toxic. It becomes toxic when you react to that, when you judge other people. And I remember when you know, when I was a child, I thought that gossiping was one way to relate. Because if I come to a group of friends and I have nothing to say, I'm boring. Nobody's interested in me. Hence, they will discard me. Hence, I will be alone. And hence, I die. I think gossip is such a thing that is so human nature that if we do not talk and judge and think and analyze and compare, it will be kind of boring thing. And if you don't agree with me, please write me a comment because I would love to read it. There are multiple ways how we can look at the situation, but I think gossip in general, is it really that bad? Is it really that toxic? If you're not going to make it toxic, and if you're not going to continue that gossip in order to hurt other people, it will not be toxic. It will be just like another news story that you heard today in the morning, and by the evening, you already forgot about that. I'm very interested to see what you have to say about this. Yeah, so tomorrow we are going to talk about other toxic situations and toxic people behavior that actually can influence your life and can make it stressful for you. So I hope to see you tomorrow.